How you going with that one? Can you think your way into this space if you remember to? Or do you feel like you're still not sure how to think your way into this space? Too soon to say. No, God, yeah.
No, I'm just saying option 2.
Yeah, right. Too soon to say. No. Look, it does take this little bit of sitting and reflecting before, it's maybe clear how to click into it. Sometimes it's as simple as trying and failing and realizing you're okay after failing to kind of get rid of the fear of failing. Sometimes it's trying and succeeding and realizing that you can succeed. But in any case, there's this kind of like, let's see. Let's just see. Let's just try. Will anything be harmed if I adopt this attitude? Yeah, will anything be harmed if I adopt this attitude? And probably not, right? Probably there's only going to be benefit. But with all things in the Dharma, treat it as, well, this seems like a good idea, so let's see. Yeah, and really invest in it as much as you can, but without too much pressure. Do you know what I mean? Not too much pressure. So anyway, it requires some reflection, but to really sit with, is there a version of these that you already do a little bit and you can just upgrade them? Or a time and a place where they come somewhat naturally and they just, can be elaborated. Because I'm guessing that you do orient yourself this way in some situation in your life. Yeah, in some situation in your life. There's a place in your life where you have confidence. Do you think? Yeah? Even if it's just, confidence in your ability to make your dog happy, right? Or confidence in your ability to, make friends with a stranger at a party or whatever it is. We have like a zone where we know we can if we try. Yeah, that kind of confidence somewhere. And then to sit with, well, where did that come from? Trial and error? Did it come from not worrying about outcomes? Did it come from where? Just kind of play with it, but just, more than anything, touch that it's a place that already lives in you. It just can be expanded. It's the same as any other positive state of mind. It's not like we're not patient. We're just not always patient, right? But there are some areas in your life where you have trained yourself to be patient because it was worth your while for some reason. And then other areas where you just lose it, right? And you get impatient and you get grumpy and you lose your peace. But that's not to say that you don't have the skill of patience. It just hasn't been applied to that area. So with all of these, try and really touch where you can already do it a little bit, because it gives you the grain of hope, but it also gives you the launching point to then grow the ability, because it's in there somewhere. Questions on this one? Or comments? Good, okay. Joy. So, this is more of a result. These are more causes. But this joy that's talked about is the joy that comes with effort when you're happy, like when children play. So children can actually put a ton of energy into play. Like crazy amounts, right? Have you seen children, right? They're nuts. The running around, right? Like imagine like tag, the game tag. Like it's completely pointless, right? There's never an end to tag. Yeah, you're it, chase. Right, there's no end to tag except for just like exhausted, everyone falls into pieces laughing and like has a nap. But there's not like a resolution to this game. But children will run around in circles, tagging each other for ages if you let them. So they're having fun, right? They're having joy, but that joy is not separated from the effort involved in running around. Can you imagine us like just running around, whacking each other for hours on it? We'd be like, all right, enough, let's have a cigarette.
We wouldn't even start.
Right? We'd be like, what do you mean, run? You're it. Whatever. You're it. Right? We can't be bothered, right? But, the problem for us is that we have this association with, if there is physical exertion or mental exertion, there is stress. Yeah, we have this association as adults that physical exertion and mental exertion or effort is stress. That has not always been true. When we were little kids, running around was not stressful, right? We just ran around until we didn't feel like running around, then we stopped. Yeah, we climbed a tree, looked down, woo, climbed back down. It was effort to climb the tree. Yeah, our little muscles had to work. We had to think about, this branch will hold my weight or this branch will hold my weight. It was effort. When we were really little, learning stuff sometimes was fun, right? We might have even enjoyed learning stuff for a while. There was effort involved in learning, but we didn't necessarily associate it with stress unless we had mean teachers from the very beginning. Right? But maybe your mom and dad said, this is blue and this is red. Let's find all the red things, and it was like a game or something. You're like, that's red. You were excited, right? Do you sort of half remember? It's been a while, right? But, we learned stuff and it wasn't stressful at some point in our life. True? Yeah. Also, there has been focus that was not stressful. Right? We might have even done something in school like gymnastics, walking on a balance beam, trying to be focused, not wanting to fall off. But if we did fall off, it was just on a mat, and that was sort of fun too. Yeah, so we're focused, trying to stay. Okay, don't fall. Oh, well, I fell. Right? Which for me was often, right? There was a lot of the falling. And sometimes it was fun, the falling, but there was focus in trying to stay on the balance beam. Or there was focus in, jumping from one piece of furniture to another piece of furniture, pretending that the floor was on fire and lava. Did you ever do that game as a kid, right? Jump on the table, jump on the chair. Uh-oh, mom's watching. Right? But pretend that the floor is lava. It required focus, but it was totally fun. So what we're talking about here is remembering that we made the association with stress and focus, stress and physical exertion, stress and learning. We made those associations because of our bloody ego. Yeah? Because our ego makes us tired. Yeah? When we do physical exertion, it's because we want to achieve something for the ego, for the I. Right? We either want to achieve getting this thing done, achieve the appearance of strength, or achieve some sort of physical attractiveness. But we have this kind of achievement hunger or fear of ill health. But not just a normal fear, but like a ego fear. When we're focused, it's in this kind of hungry way. Yeah, it's not in a, let's just try, oh, I got distracted. Right? It's in this really tight way when we're focused most of the time. And so it's totally stressful because what we're focused on is driven by some sort of accomplishment or some sort of attachment, and often both. So, for example, when we're looking at our phones for a long period of time, it's, we could say we are focused on the phone, right? But really what we're doing is scrolling for happiness. Yeah. We're just kind of poking things to see if they'll make us happy. What about that picture? Will that make me happy? No. Poke. Come on, happiness, come on. Right? That's what we're trying to do. And so it seems at first like a kind of relief because it's a focus away from the daily stresses. It seems like a kind of pleasure sometimes. But what's happening is we're just stimulating ourselves with attachment that is never getting its needs met because it's attachment. And we're getting tired and not even realizing that this thing we turn to for entertainment and stress relief actually gives us stress. Yeah. So focus we associate with stress, but it's not by its nature stressful. Similarly with learning. Yeah. I mean, how many songs do you have memorized? Right? At least the first verse, right? How many songs do we have at least the first verse of them memorized, or the chorus? Yeah, so many. Oh my God, right? Ones we don't even like, right? We know. Yeah. I know, like all of Patsy Cline's greatest hits. Why? Why? Right? Try and remember the 51 mental factors. Right? But, crazy, right? It's just there. No problem, no effort, right? And these things were learned, but we don't even consider them learning because we associate them with pleasure, because we associated music with pleasure, and so taking on information just went smooth. Yeah. So when we're talking about joy, we're trying to remember how a child is at play. That it's not removed from effort, it's removing effort from stress. Do you feel that place, right? And so remember how you are now as an adult when you still are able to focus in different ways without stress or have effort in different ways without stress. When your mind has decided this is play, or when your mind has decided this is pleasure, or this is fun, or this is worthwhile, or this is enjoyment, when you've labeled it that way, you absorb so much that is useful. Yeah, and even if I think about all of the Dharma classes I had with my teacher so far, may they continue, but the ones that stick are the ones where usually, sadly, there was like a joke. Right? He told a funny story or a joke, or someone else told a joke, or there was chai or something cool had happened that day, or, sadly, but it's like the content of that day stuck because something in my mind decided it was fun. Yeah? So those teachings are vivid and clear. Even if the subject was kind of dry, I remember them. Yeah, and it could be that the subject was actually quite interesting, but I was sort of distracted and stressed that day or worried about other things I needed to do, and now even though I've heard the teaching 10 times, I don't remember. Yeah? So it's not the content, it's the attitude you're bringing to the content. Do you know what I mean? So this kind of joy, it's going to be really unique to you as an individual. How do you let go back into joy? Because if you can move from an ego place of ambition and goal focus, you can relax back into joy. Yeah, just like you were playing tag that never ends. Yeah, just like you're remembering verses from a song that you already love. Yeah, even when you're being focused at balancing, even if you don't care if you fall. Yeah, like this. So so this will be fuel for practice, because when you then think, all right, so my job, my purpose, my orientation is compassion, so I'm just going to give it my best because that's what I want to do with my life, because that makes me happy to be oriented that way. Not because a good person should and I'm a bad person if I don't. Then that's a job, right? You've got enough jobs. If you make it a job, then you're going to resent it. And you're going to rebel against yourself and think, well, to hell with it. Today I'm just going to go to the pub and whatever. Yeah? If you make it a job, then it's got all this pressure and you suffocate the joy. So it's like, make sure that you're approaching your Dharma practice in a way that you realize it's voluntary and you like it. Not it's a job that you have to do. Yeah, because if it's a job you have to do, you'll say, never mind, stuff it. Yeah, or you'll get depressed at not being perfect at it. Yeah. But
there is a danger by what you've just described of getting attached to that. And then what do you do on days that you've promised, you had a path to go to, you should practice, and that joy doesn't really come up. You don't practice. You see,
attached to what? Attached to what?
To the joyous.
Attached to joyous effort. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes joyous effort becomes dogged perseverance with hope of joy. Sometimes it's sort of dogged, right? But it's even. Do you know that deep contentment that can kind of pull you steadily through, even when you're not feeling flooded with joy? Right? I don't know, some of us have been Buddhist a long time. It's not like it's invigorating and life-fulfilling, and connections are being made and insights are happening, and we're having, oh my God, this is profound, every second of every teaching. But there's a deep contentment of, oh, thank goodness I found a path that suits my mind. Thank goodness I found a process that helps me move out of things that are harmful into things that are helpful. Thank goodness. And it's just like a deep satisfaction that, you know, even on bad days is a type of joy. And that very naturally lends itself to really manifest full body, full mind, flooded joy. But, you know, even on days when it's not happening, there's just like this deep contentment of having found it for you, what the it is. So it doesn't need to be like, you know, excited, peppy, obnoxious, happy, right? It doesn't have to be like, right, like, you know, obnoxious, happy, right? Sometimes I'm obnoxious, happy. You're like, all right, settle down. All right, I get it. You're excited, but settle down, right? But you know what I mean? So don't feel like it's not working if you don't want to jump up and down every day, right? It's still working, right? And if you wanted to jump up and down every day, you would annoy your friends. Yeah. So I don't know. It's you notice it in people that have developed far more than myself, for example, in that even when they're calm and serious, they could laugh at any minute, right? They could. Not at you, but with life. Laugh at the absurdity of the human condition. They could just crack it right there, right? And I know this with my with my own teacher, where he can be talking very seriously about the suffering of sentient beings and how we hurt ourselves and others, and everyone is right there with him. And then if, like, I don't know, there's an absurd bird noise outside, he'll just like giggle, you know? Like he doesn't feel like, oh, I'm not allowed to giggle because we're talking about something serious. Two things can be true at once, right? Two things can be true at once. So slowly, we get into this like habit of happiness as well. Yeah. And the Dharma should give you a good sense of humor, because the more self-awareness you have, the more absurd you see that you are, and you're amused because you're not taking yourself so personally, right? You're not taking your own life so personally. Yeah, you're just thinking, oh God, life is funny, isn't it? You know, you're just like amused at yourself. With confidence, right? Yeah, it's not looking down on yourself. It's looking down at afflictions, knowing the truth of yourself, which is your potential. Yeah, so, you know, it's a gradual thing. It's not going to happen overnight, but keep remembering that there has been this thing in your life that you could bring to other things in your life. And the associations we have right now are learned. They're not innate or natural, right? It was learned to associate focus with stress. It was learned to associate exertion with stress. It was learned to associate learning with stress. These are not natural associations. Yeah, this is what happened to us as adults, right? Yeah. Sure, yeah, ask.
The ability of children to enjoy nonsense is because they don't have the ego feeling. This is the idea.
They don't have so much expectations.
Because ego they have.
Yeah, kids have ego, absolutely.
So it's not the ego.
No, but it's an example of having effort without stress. It's not an example of no ego. Because we didn't have as many expectations on the present.
They're not trying to achieve anything.
We played.
Yeah.
To something
Yeah.
in the game. We wanted something.
Yeah, we wanted something. Yeah.
Something.
Totally. Yeah. I want to get that other person so that they're it and I'm not it anymore. Sure. Sure, but it was sort of like, I don't know, maybe it was because we were held in a different way by our life, in that our basic needs were met by our parents. You know, we didn't need to find food and clothing and shelter because they had provided that with us. So there was a level of relaxation and safety. Maybe it was because for children, it's easier to be in the moment because there's no pressure for them to think of the future. But for whatever reason, we were able to have effort, to have exertion, to learn things without so much pressure.
So this is the point that you want to emphasize, that the connection between pressure and effort is not so natural. It can be differentiated. That's what you want to emphasize?
What I want to emphasize is that we could be happy all the time, right? What I want to emphasize is that you could be very busy and work very hard and accomplish a great deal in your life and be happy, or you could be stuck immobilized in a hotel or in a hospital and not be able to do anything verbally or physically and be totally happy. That happiness is not dictated by your activities. Suffering is not dictated by your activities, but the mind of attachment thinks that it is. And so if we can think of examples when what we thought was true wasn't true in another context, it opens up the possibility to bring that into the present. So children have ego just like we do, right? They're little ticking time bombs of ego explosion, bless their hearts. But there is something that they were able to do in terms of how they use their energy that we've forgotten. Yeah, we forgot. It doesn't mean that other things that we've learned weren't really good, you know, like that. Yeah.
I think they could make the distinction between the things that they had to really pay attention to and be serious about, like my father told me this and my mother told me this and the teacher told me this, but now I'm in the playground, so now I can do whatever I want. And in this time, they were more free and didn't have the other things.
Yeah, who can say? Yeah, everybody's childhood's different, but yeah, for sure. Yes, children have less past that they remember. Yes, less failures that they remember. Yeah, yeah, I'm adding that they remember, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, and some children come in heavily burdened by their previous lives with all sorts of, you know, traumatic behaviors that don't make sense given their current life. So it depends on the child for sure. But anyway, the point of this is to just touch that, like a child at play, when we practice the path, to try to bring this joy in the beginning, joy in the middle, joy in the end, because the work is worthwhile. That's enough of a reason to be happy about it. Not having accomplished it, not being seen doing it, but the work itself is important enough that is a happy thought. That is enough to carry us if we reorient ourselves there. Yeah, that the work of understanding the human condition in order to bring more joy to ourselves and others is a profound thing to have touched as even a thought to have. Because lots and lots of people in this world sincerely think they will be happier if they have more money. Lots of people think that they would be happier if they had more status in their career. They're sure of it. They seek it. They spend their whole lives trying to achieve it and get to their deathbed and wonder, what was it all for? Yeah, so we're incredibly lucky that it even occurs to us there might be more to life than the material. Yeah, and that is happy, right? That we've touched something a bit deeper, which means we can ask some deeper questions and maybe find some deeper answers. But even if we don't find the answers, just having an opener question means a much more powerful, diverse, interesting, engaging life. Yeah? If you're certain about everything, you're certain that this plus this equals this, then when that doesn't happen, you don't know what to do with that. Yeah, if you think, okay, partner plus career plus house plus car equals a happy life, then when you get those things and you're not happy, there's nowhere to go with that. Like, crap, all right, so then what? Right? But if it's still like, all right, well, those aren't the causes for happiness. Those are conditions in a certain context for happiness to arise, but they aren't the only conditions, and they're certainly not the substantial cause. Possibilities are open. Does that make sense? Yes.
So if the root of the killjoy of the joyous effort is our expectations from our practice, how do we adjust our expectations? Because you're not supposed to practice without an aspiration or expecting this to benefit our own path and others, what kind of adjustment can we do to our expectations?
Yeah, if expectations are kind of the thief of joy, then how do we kill our expectations to our own path? Is that?
I guess, I mean, that's
Or-
what I said, adjust it, because, I mean, I can't practice without expectations. Or can I? I don't know, maybe. Just like,
Maybe you
let's
should.
try it out.
Yeah, be realistic. But also have this kind of, look, it sounds really kind of hippie or zen or something, but, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way, it's the journey, right? It's the path, right? Like all this stuff, like it is actually true, even though it's cliche, right? Like if you can enjoy the journey, you will achieve the end of the journey. Right? If you don't enjoy the process, if you don't enjoy the path, you'll never accomplish the results of the process and the path. So be about the process, and it'll take the time it takes. But if you can kind of be with being in the process, and the process itself is nourishing because it's meaningful. And it doesn't need to have any more success to it than that. You've already found meaning. Then you just go from meaning to depth, and that's wonderful and fantastic. But, in a way, it's like you're already done because you've found something to orient your life by. Now it's just a process of seeing it unfold and putting your best effort into it. But, it's this like marathon mentality of if you treat a marathon like a sprint, you hurt yourself and miss out on all the scenery, So treat it like a marathon. Yeah, and have regular breaks. Regular rest in the right way, rest before you blow out your knees, Look, and having, realistic expectations of, what is a realistic expectation? How much progress is possible? How much effort is possible? These are things that, you just have to experiment with. I certainly thought that I would be more deep and profound and advanced on my path than I am now. I certainly hoped I'd be further along than I am now. But am I happier and more effective than I used to be? Yes, that's good enough. What were my expectations based on? They were based on not knowing myself well enough. So I was thinking about this the other day because I just had my ordination anniversary, and it's been 15 years, and that's a large chunk of time given my age. And I was thinking, yeah, right. So 15 years ago and now, am I any different? Gee, I hope so. God, blimey. Am I worse? Please don't let me be worse. And just I did a bit of a like, oh God, okay. Oh my God, 15 years. Jeez. I know. Oh my God, obviously I haven't gotten anywhere with my practice. But, to really reflect on 2003. Just sitting with, am I any happier? Am I any more effective? Yes, I am. Did I think that I would have achieved some magic level of concentration by now? Sort of, part of me did. And some of that was pride. And some of that was not understanding how hard it is. And some of that was I was too lazy. I should have put in more effort. If I'd put in more effort, I would have been more further along, So some of that, it was a whole mixture of things. And so hopefully the next 15 years, I'll have a more realistic expectation of myself and how quick it will go. And more patience, kind of more patience with it's still worthwhile. If I had known then where I would be now, would I have still made the choice? Yeah, I would. It's still worthwhile. So, let's just keep trying. See how it goes, There is. Yes, it's coming. It's almost as if I wrote it. Isn't that weird? No, I'm kidding. But, this is the thing. So I guess if you're looking at your own practice, to frame it in terms of it's good to be inspired by the life stories of amazing lamas, but don't compare yourself to them in the sense of expecting it to go that quickly. We're not Milarepa. Yeah, or at least I'm not Milarepa. So maybe I'm not going to get enlightened in this life, but will the effort I put into it still have been worthwhile? Yeah. And what if it turns out there are no future lives? Will I be disappointed in how I lived this one? I don't think so. Like if I want to, just work on consuming less, destroying less, adding more benefit, adding more kindness, it's a good way to live. Yeah, if I hadn't met a path like this, I would be a worse consumer for sure. Yeah. So if nothing else, I've just really cut down on how many clothes I bought in my life. So sweatshops have benefited from my lack of purchase, right? Right? You know, I have nothing else, right? So, you know, it's interesting to just kind of sit with, even if I'm wrong, will I be disappointed in living a life this way? I don't think so. But if I'm right, it's going to really have the momentum to keep carrying me on and on and on. And honestly, there are ways that I was maybe kinder as a child than I am now, but they were, I think, the result of previous work that I didn't give enough effort to reinforcing. So I kind of lost some of it, which just shows me, though, I can do it. I just need to practice more so I get back to that place. Exactly. I had more pets then, see? Right? Obviously just need a puppy. So like this. So this joy thing, this is delicate, and don't put pressure on yourself and don't be beating yourself up for not being joyful. The other danger is that you like try to force it and become unbearable to be around, right? Like, I'm happy, quietly dying, right? Don't do that, obviously, but that's unlikely in this society, right? But it's a more American danger, right? Everything's fine, right? It's not, it's fine.
So like being totally angry at customers. It's not working.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, honk, honk. Yeah, traffic is our teacher. That's all I can say. Traffic is our teacher. Yeah.
Don't you think this joy of yours is yours?
What do you mean?
I mean, I feel that you are connecting the joy that you have to the path that you have chosen. I'm asking differently. Don't you think that this joyous attitude is yours? You were born with it.
No, I had clinical depression as a teenager. I was heavily medicated. I had clinical depression as a teenager.
Teenager is a very difficult period.
Sure. Sure, but you're making it sound like I was naturally happy, right?
I'm suspecting that you were born happy, but you know, because all research show that all of us are born with certain level or quantity of happiness. You know, so I don't have...
Sure, I mean, we could sit down and talk about my early childhood trauma and my various difficulties in developmental stages, but I was not always so happy. Yeah, I was not always so happy. And I'm not always happy, right? I'm just happier than I used to be, happier. And, and even like something like depression, I still have the habit of depression. It just lasts for 15 minutes rather than 15 days or 15 years or whatever, right? But it's like the same thinking that's problematic thinking arises. I see it for what it is and it dies a natural death, fingers crossed, right? But, it's the same as it ever was. It's just it used to take over and last days or weeks or months, and it was horrible and oppressive. But it's not like I'm a fundamentally different wiring. I just catch my negative habits better, and it's not magic, right? It was progressive over time. And each year I do a little bit better. And occasionally I have a backslide year, right? But generally, right, like this. So the practice creates this. If you think you have to naturally be like this, then you'll never achieve it. It's learned. Joy is learned. How to be joyful is learned. You already have a little bit in you, but it's a way of thinking that blossoms into an experience. Yeah, trust me, I've not always been happy. Yeah. Yeah, it's, part of me is grateful for having suffered because I wouldn't ask how does suffering happen. From that perspective, it's not like that's the conclusion everyone comes to from their suffering, but, it's really a palpable cause in this life that if I hadn't had a physical disability, which I have, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I have some scoliosis and various weirdness, if I hadn't had some trauma, if I hadn't had some depression, if I hadn't had some persecution, I would be a less deep person. So I'm annoyed and grateful. Right? Annoyed and grateful, but not even really annoyed at this point. But it's not to say that I wanted those things, but there's a way to use them. So this is also what I mean about identifying as a victim suffocates growth. You can think bad things have happened, but they were useful. Yeah, and if you think of them in those terms, then they become fuel for the path. The other danger is to think bad things happened, but they really weren't that bad. They were fine, la, la, la. That's also dangerous, right? Name them as bad, name them as problematic. You didn't want them, but that was useful, like this. So I think that the Dharma is suited to Israeli culture quite well, because you've seen some things, right? But it also is something very delicate, because you don't want to put too much pressure on yourself to feel the results before you've created the causes. Do you know what I mean? Like there's this whole just processing the information step that needs to happen before you can start to touch the impact of the thoughts. Yeah, it has to digest. Yeah. So I guess this last one is the simplest one, but it's reassuring that it's listed, which is the power of relinquishment, which just means like if you're tired, you should rest. But it's reassuring that it's in there, right? It's not saying you have to be this amazing machine that can just go endlessly and that you're not a successful spiritual practitioner if you have to rest. It's saying rest, right? But what it's saying is rest before you're exhausted. Don't wait until you're exhausted to rest. So that it's really hard. It is really hard. And also even if you do that, if you decide I'm going to rest before I'm exhausted, sometimes we associate rest with entertainment and then exhaust ourselves with becoming entertained and call it rest and then wonder why we aren't rested. This is very tricky for us in our society because we have like infinite options for entertainment. Right? We have so many things we could find to stimulate and entertain our mind. And it's not wrong to be entertained sometimes. It's not bad to be entertained sometimes, but don't call it rest. Call it what it is and enjoy it for what it is, but don't think that it's restful because it's just more for you to process. Yeah, so when you rest, stop. Right? Screens down, books down. Yeah. Look out the window, but don't try and see anything, right? Have a glass of water, slowly, right? Have a bath, slowly. Go for a walk without going anywhere, without trying to achieve anything at the end of your walk. Just go for a mosey, yeah. There's a cute word in Tibetan called chum chum, which is like a walk with no purpose. And you say, so if you see a friend on the street, you go, where are you going? And that's an often greeting. Kawa jogien, where are you going? And they go, chum chum. A walk with no purpose. They also usually say, where is your friend? And you're like, which friend? And they're like, just in general. Why would you be by yourself? That's also interesting. Right? But when we're looking at this power of relinquishment, what we're doing is saying, I love this work too much to ruin it with my exhaustion.
Yeah, to overdo it.
Yeah. I love this work too much to ruin it with my exhaustion. So I'm going to stop so I can keep going. And so that is the reason to stop. I'm going to stop so I can keep going. And then when you stop, you want to keep going. And when you get up in the morning, you go, okay, back to it, rather than, oh my God, no, right? Which is the sign of having pushed it too far. Right? It doesn't mean you're bad. It just means you pushed beyond tired to fatigue, to exhaustion, to now I'm approaching burnout. Yeah. And so if you've pushed it too far, the advice is just common sense, which is just rest. Just rest. Yeah. Tibetan medicine would say if you're really stressed out, if you're really burnt out, and you're not feeling rested by resting, things that help are looking at the sea or going to the top of a mountain and looking at a view, but getting something spacious, which reminds you of the spaciousness of your mind. Yeah. So that's nice. It's a good excuse. You can be safe. Tibetan doctors say it's very good to go to the sea. Right now. Yeah, if you're a bit low, absolutely. Negative ions, whatever scientific reasons help too. They also say singing is good for you, Then there's been all these scientific studies about singing stimulating the vagus nerve and all of this coolness, whatever. But anyway, it makes you happy. Sing a song badly on a mountaintop, you'll feel better. Right? Stuff like that, right? I think it helps to sing it badly, but you can sing it beautifully if you want. No. Yeah, but look, it's common sense stuff, but they also say if you're feeling really agitated, tired, where you're like exhausted, but you can't stop thinking, you're exhausted, but you're spinny, this kind of exhaustion, then in this case, it's good to eat heavy food, like potatoes. So like that, yeah? So that's nice, yeah, eat some potatoes. Who doesn't like potatoes, right? Especially in chip form. No, that's bad. No, butter, right? No. But anyway, potatoes are good for you. So heavy food to settle you down, your heavy food of choice. If you are in a romantic relationship, to make use of that romantic relationship, that is also advice. Do with that information what you will, right? If you, sometimes tactile things help ground you. So if you're like a knitter or a sewer or a writer or, something tactile, fix the shed, I don't know, it helps ground you. So the power of relinquishment is resting at the right time in the right way so that you can continue. And it's really only the power of relinquishment if you have something to continue towards. Yeah.
When this advice was given, what is the context? In original time, what do people need to rest from? Is it from spiritual practice? Because I'm not sure if you talk about spiritual practice or just mundane. Like, what are we resting here? 2 or 4?
What are we resting to, 2 or 4? What was the context of these teachings? These are the sort of teachings you can use in a mundane form or in a spiritual form. So the context for these teachings is the joyous effort section of the Lamrim Chenmo, meaning it goes in the great scope practices of a bodhisattva, right?
That's like when a bodhisattva needs to rest.
Exactly, when a bodhisattva needs to rest. Even bodhisattvas need to rest, see? Right? But also clerks in banks and stuff. Like everybody, right? Everyone needs a little rest. But it's the kind of rest that is because you value your work. It's not a rest out of avoidance of work. It's not a rest because of hating your life. It's a rest so that you can continue your work because you love it. And so there's a way to love any kind of work if you transform it into seeing it as fuel for your spiritual path. And then, the work itself is incidental because it's the mentality you're bringing it to. So that's where we're aiming to, essentially. But, some people are here just to like their job more, right? And it works for that too. Yeah, it's going to work better for liking your job too if you have this deeper motivation of any job I have is useful as fuel for the path if I see it the right way. But yeah, there's all levels you can hit it at, whichever level you want. But yes, that's the context. Great vehicle. Great vehicle resting. Yes. Okay. So any miscellaneous questions before we finish? Hopefully useful. Just sit with it a little bit. This one goes with the joy section. So from the Garland of Birth Stories, the Jataka Tales, right? Discouragement does not help to free you from misfortune. So rather than torment yourself in sorrow, develop stable proficiency in the required goals. Then even the difficult becomes easy, bringing liberation. So it's just common sense, isn't it? Part of us feels like sorrow is necessary or despair is reasonable, as if it's a strategy or a tool for something. But all it does is just puts more pause between what we actually want to do. Yeah. So discouragement, sorrow, these things are normal and understandable, but we have to look at our view towards them because sometimes we see them as like a sign of depth or understanding life or profundity, when in fact they are not serving us, right? They're stagnating. So to kind of say, if I really want stable proficiency, in the required goals, right? The Buddhist path or the path to awakening, however you like to frame it, then I just need to repeat what I know. How do you develop proficiency in anything? Yeah, proficiency meaning like ability or competence. Yeah, you just repeat it. Think about it, get clearer on it, repeat, repeat, repeat. Yep. So, like this. Okay, so if you know the dedication prayer, you can join with me. Do you guys have your little book with you? Yep. I might even be able to tell you the page. Let's see. And I recommend you read through these course materials maybe tomorrow while it's still fresh enough to stick. There are a series of readings on these issues from like His Holiness and Pema Chodron and people like that. Okay, so if you want to turn to page 34. Janchu Zemjo Rinpoche Make Panam Ke Gyuji Ke Pan Yamba Me Payang Gonhe Gondu Pewasho Garia Rawe Koe Jinkam Dear Pendang Dewa Malu Zhengwei Ne Genre Ziwan Tenzin Gatsoi Shape Site Badu Tengyuchi. And bottom of page 33. Tup sul jan jing jam gong gao wei ten zing yuan bao wei kun zu du po ze ju sum ku wei lei mon tu zhup pa da so du je gon du shap ten shu. Okay, thanks everybody.